Hello, my name is Viola Pierce. I am in the Master's of Nursing program at ECPI in the Leadership track.
My name's Sakina Alston, and I am also in the MSN program at ECPI in nursing leadership class, NUR 501.
And I'm Serena Gurfey. I'm also in the same class.
All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna start out.
What
We had an
project?
assignment where we had to pick out a case study, and then with the case study, we needed to answer the questions at the end of the case study. The case study that we chose is case study 5-2. It's using innovative strategies to correct unit problems. So my perception of what happened was there was an NDNQI study, or survey that the leaders on this unit placed in the hands of their staff, and once they got the results back, they were very surprised by the results, that they were working in a very unhealthy environment, or that the staff felt that they were working in a very unhealthy environment. My perception is that the leaders were surprised by the results, and then once they shared the information with the staff also was surprised by the results. The manager then employed a clinical nurse specialist to come to the unit and to speak with the nurses about the situation that was going on. But the staff was, not willing to speak. They were very quiet. They didn't want to talk about what was going on in the unit. So what happened after then was that they had to get together this innovation team where they had several members, one being a Lean Six Sigma champion who came in, used the A3 diagram, and also the clinical nurse specialist, the nurse manager, various other people. They came together and they decided to have group meetings, and also collaboration, where they kind of help everybody in the unit understand what an unhealthy environment means, and that they may be working in an unhealthy environment with the scores that they had. And so then I think that they understood what it meant, and it gave them the ability to be able to speak out. I think they were probably very honest with their team members, and they started speaking out. Sakina?
Okay. So some things that I remember from when I read the case study was that not only was it an unhealthy work environment, it was unsafe. I think I would say there was some lateral violence going on because there was some bullying, and that's why some of the staff members were afraid to speak out about what their answers were on the survey. And because of the lateral violence, like refusing to help people with their load, some patients had fallen. So the innovation team also they knew they had to come together for patient safety, as well as this unhealthy work environment that was causing the patients to be unsafe. And are we talking about are we answering question number 1 or no? Not yet.
I mean, we can.
Okay.
Serena, do you have anything to speak to it?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I was kind of surprised in the case study that the staff was surprised by the results of it, because they already knew it was an unhealthy work environment. That's all. But you guys already hit on all the points I was gonna say.
I was surprised by that too, meaning that I didn't really understand why they were surprised,
Yeah.
and they were working in it. What did they think that people were going to write?
I think, I think that sometimes, unless you have heightened awareness, I think that, traditionally nursing has been, I've been in nursing a long time. I think traditionally nursing has been a dog-eat-dog world type of situation. And so, nurses eat their young. That's the thing. So what has happened is you don't even realize that you're in that situation a lot of times. And I think that's probably the reason why they didn't know that they were in an unhealthy work environment. So that's my own perception of it. But the first question is that is what perceptions that I have on what are your perceptions on the method used by the nurse manager and the clinical nurse specialist to resolve the healthy work environment on the unit? I think the outcome spoke to to my perceptions on the methods that we use. At the end of the study and at the end of the survey, they felt better about speaking out. They felt that the first survey said that they it was the results were not so good, whereas at the end the survey results were a lot better. So I think that your methodology, if your methodology is good, then at the end of the day it will speak volumes as to your outcome and your results.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they first started with staff meetings, and then they weren't really effective because people just weren't listening and they weren't speaking up. So that's when they decided to do a more detailed assessment, and they collaborated with the CNS, the Human Resources, the Six SATA guy, and the EAP counselor, and kind of brainstormed and came up with ideas to help their unit. The other part of the question that I think it was based off our feelings, and I find that the staff meetings are ineffective in general just because, and I listed a couple of reasons. One, nobody really wants to be in a staff meeting. Two, it's mostly the leadership just passing along information that they can send in an email. Three, no one's really listening. Four, people don't really speak up because the person that's causing the issue is probably in the room and they don't want to say anything in fear of backlash. So that's why their staff meetings weren't working. That's what I got.
When I answered question number one, I thought I was answering it like from the end of their tactics. Like, so not, I know that in the beginning they first did the staff meeting that was not effective, so then they went back and they formed this team. And so what I perceived was that they, and I'm talking about the second go around, that the one that was effective, that they did value multiple intelligences, and I think that made a big difference. It was the fact that they had the counselor in there to teach people how to express their feelings from the employee assistance program. They had an educational component. They had someone doing research. They had someone from so many different parts of it to work on a specific aspect of the problem and bring it all together. And I think that they did provide a lot of education, like you were saying in the beginning, about the people didn't even know that they were in that kind of situation. So I feel like they gathered data. That's what they did in the first go around when they tried to do with the staff meeting. Then they evaluated that. That didn't work. So they went back, gathered more data, and then they implemented a plan that involved so many different people, and they educated people and broke down the barriers that they found so they could move forward. Yeah. And then they went back after that again and did a reevaluation of that, and they got a reevaluation from everybody involved, the leaders, the staff members involved, and so they measured the things that they implemented to see if they worked or not. That was my perception.
Cool. So what might have been some of the barriers that could have been anticipated by the innovation team in resolving the negative work environment? Some of the barriers that could have been anticipated, which they anticipated. This one was the lack of communication, um, inappropriate staffing. I think that you have to meet people at their time of need. It's sort of like if someone's hungry. If they're hungry, then they're not going to listen to what you have to say. So if you don't give them appropriate staffing, then they're not going to, be as willing to listen to, a healthier work environment. Inequality of reward and recognition systems. That can create a unhealthy work environment. Lack of respect for the workplace, tolerance of antisocial behavior, toxic mentoring, and inconsistency and dishonesty. All of those can create barriers to them resolving this negative work environment.
And just to add on a few things, I have the staff not willing to speak up because they're scared. The informal leaders keeping control of the situation, and everyone just not willing to change or break out of that comfort zone to fix the problem.
Okay, and it's question number 2. Oh, some of the barriers that I saw were time. The employees who already didn't have time, so then they wanted to do additional staff meetings and additional education, and some people probably were going to have some resistance to that. They usually do. Let's see. And then also fear of speaking out. And then barriers could be getting administration on board, like when they had to get that team together, that there could have been some barriers because some people that needed to be on the team to make the results be effective might have not been interested, might not have had the time, they might not have felt like it was affecting their department or their job, so that could have been another barrier, getting stakeholders invested in what you're doing. Because they would have to pay for those hours to get people to go teach a course and counsel people, and so if that wasn't working for the stakeholders, they might have just said no.
Didn't even think about pay.
What did you say?
I said I didn't even think about the pay.
Yep.
What are factors that might affect the adoption or rejection of the innovation that was used to improve the work environment? And I just put the biggest factor that affects the adoption is trust and transparency. You have to be very clear about where we're at. You have to, if you say that you're going to do something, you need to do it. And that those are the biggest things. If they feel that they can trust you, then they will move forward. But if they have fear of their job or their livelihood, then they're not going to move forward, and they're not going to speak out, and it's going to continue on.
Mm-hmm. I just have to use smaller groups for discussion to, brainstorm ideas and stuff. I had a hard time answering this question. I'm sorry.
Okay. So the question, I'm just going to read it again so I understand what I'm talking about here. What are the factors that might affect the adoption or rejection of the innovation that was used to improve the work environment? So I think I only talked about the factors that would affect rejection. And again, the money thing came up. Did administration want to pay for all these plans? And then if there are individuals that we talked about in the beginning who see conflict as a normal part of nursing, they think it's just the way it is. They might not take it seriously or be invested in trying to fix this problem, because they would say that's the way it's always been and this is the way it's always going to be. And I've even seen people go to sleep in meetings that were held, mandatory meetings. They show up and go to sleep, so that could be part of it. I did not have any, I don't think I had any that would that would affect the adoption of this process. But I can think that if someone was very, very uncomfortable in their job, which I have been before, love my patient population, but uncomfortable with the work environment, I would be serious about trying to improve it. I'd be very invested in that. So.
Mm-hmm.
How did the innovation team engage the staff in the resolution of the poor unit morale? And I just put staff meetings with the surveys and the educational classes.
All I put for that answer was they assessed the staff and found out that the staff were reluctant to speak about the problem, and then they broke down barriers, educated them, and provided a safe and therapeutic environment for the staff to express their true feelings and fears.
Mm-hmm. I put that they collaborated a team, did some education discussion sessions about the work environment and the teamwork, and then open communication on the well-beings of the staff and patient safety.
Yep, open communication.
So what might you do as an innovation leader to ensure that this change was sustained over time? So I put new hire education, that it would be required for all new hires, an open door policy, being consistent, being honest, ourselves having emotional intelligence, balancing work and home life, walk the talk, value the truth of the whole, and build relationship rapport.
Mm-hmm. I have continued to ask the staff for their input and their ideas to continue keeping the peace, basically. And if none of that stuff worked, I would consider firing the negative source on my floor, or not even firing, maybe transferring them, because fire is kind of harsh. But if they don't straighten up, I don't want that in my workspace, So, and I'm sorry, and to do further counseling as well.
I agree with that firing thing. I didn't write that, but I always think about it. I don't know how easy it is or not to do. I have not had to do that. But let me see. So my answers to this question, it's kind of long. So I said I would maintain the momentum. So they had good results or whatever. She said keep it going over time. So I would maintain the momentum while everybody is feeling and reporting better energy on the unit. I would try to start clubs, just simple clubs like a birthday club or where we're acknowledging each other as human beings, not just co-workers. So, it doesn't have to be I'm bringing a cake for my friend. It's that we celebrate birthdays on this unit. That helps people to come to work on their birthdays, believe it or not. So just things like that. Family tree on the unit, a board where it's like, you get recognition, such and such, thank you for doing this. So while the momentum and the energy is good, I would start that up. Then I wouldn't wait until like a yearly survey to see how the staff are feeling. I would connect with them face to face, and I would, so formally and informally, assess how they're feeling, surveys, but not once a year per the organization. I would do it for my unit. We would talk about it, like the whole team would discuss how we're feeling as a regular part of the staff meetings, and report the safety and the non-safety issues that are going on maybe month to month. Like, this is how we're feeling, this is how many falls we've had, so that the staff would be having reassurance and reinforced reasons why they should be nice to each other. I would, so that would be evaluating organizational structure when you see if the organization is structured to support the change that you need. So if they're having a survey once a year and then everyone's surprised at the results, that's not enough. So that's why you evaluate the structure and you change it a little bit to meet the needs of what you need. So you want to know more often. Then I said assess the team needs, but that's still talking to the team, surveying them on a more regular basis. I would not just focus on day shift, because day shift gets a lot of all this, even in their innovation group. I don't know if they came in on night shift and counseled the night shifters, or if they forced the night shifters to come in on day shift and try to learn this new education and stuff like that. So that's, again, supporting the organizational process. This is a 24-hour business, so if you're going to have this innovative team, they need to come on the weekends, they need to come on night shift, and make sure that everybody in their right frame of mind gets the same benefit. Because if not, then you're not even treating everybody equally. Like when the cafeteria is closed on night shift and we're all hungry. Let me see. So so everybody would have the same educational experiences and all that. I would start a mentoring program. So we have a preceptorship program that, yes, the nurses eat the young. I mean, they're so embarrassed. They're so afraid to come off of orientation. It's good. You do need somebody watching the new person to make sure they're not going to make a mistake based on that they don't know the system or that they're a new grad. But then after that, I have never seen, and I haven't been a nurse for that long, I've been a nurse since 2009, but I've never seen a mentor program. I've had a mentor that said, hey, I like you. I'm going to make sure you're okay, whether you're on orientation or not. If you have a question, come and ask me. I would make sure there was a mentoring program so that people didn't feel alone just because they were not on orientation. I don't feel like we work in a kind of profession where that should be okay. So that would be under focus model for innovation, meaning not integrated, like not trying to do two things at once. This is focusing on one thing, and it would be develop the leader, because you can have a preceptor, you can have a charge nurse, administration, but what about a mentor? A mentor should be a leader, and I think that would make things a lot safer. But you would have to have classes for that, like classes like how you have a charge nurse class or a preceptor class. I've seen those. I've never seen a mentor class. How do you mentor somebody successfully? I don't see that in nursing, and I just have no idea why we don't have that. Still just more about that. Evaluate the organizational structure, why preceptor and no formal mentor. So then going further, when they've done this research study and now they're seeing what else can be done, whatever. So they need to develop a mentorship program, just like they developed this innovative team to fix this terrible attitude on the unit. They would have to then develop this program where mentors would be developed and what would be expected of the mentor, and what would just be the whole expectation of the program, with measurements. So assessment first, plan, and then measurement after that. And that falls under integrate innovation through education. So that's pretty much all I got.
Okay.
Awesome. I just want to say that even though the military is kind of far behind on the times in the nursing world, we definitely have a mentorship program.
That's good. I'm so glad to hear that.
Good. Good. Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Been very.
No, thank you.
Yep. Have a great